Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's nice to see some familiar faces and some new ones in here. Today is June 6th, 2024. This is MasterAdvisor episode number 92. I'm really excited for today. We're going to be talking about hiring and staffing with Shayla Northcutt. The title for today is Why It's Difficult to Hire Staff and What You Can Do About It. We have a lot to get to. As always, I just want to run us through some very quick announcements, and then we'll go ahead and we'll get to Shayla. As always, speaker view is going to be the best way to watch these. I know everyone's used to that by now, but I'd like to just give a quick reminder. Speaker view on Zoom, you can toggle it on the top right and switch into it. It's going to be the best way to watch today. And also the chat on the bottom right is going to be open. We'll take some questions and comments as we move along throughout the discussion this morning as well. I want to go ahead and we'll have Tom drop the YouTube link in the chat. That's for anyone who maybe missed any of the sessions we've done recently. We've done a lot of sort of a wide range of topics this year. We did some wellness with David Pritchard a couple of weeks ago. We did polar expeditions with Daniela Harrison and Joy Martinello. A really sort of wide range of topics. Every single one has been really good and really enjoyable for us and a lot of great feedback. So we dropped the link to the YouTube in the chat. If you want to check out any of those videos, you can go ahead and check them out there. That one will also have this session up later today, hopefully, and at the very latest tomorrow morning once we get everything processed and things like that. So go ahead, if you're over there, you can subscribe, you can get notified when new videos go up. We did just publish a new video on experiences on the Drake Passage for polar expedition sailings, and that one, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from that too, and I know people love to talk about the Drake Passage. So if you do want to go ahead and check it out, it's on the YouTube there. And then last quick reminder before we go ahead and start the episode. The next session it'll be on June 20th. We're going to welcome back Margaret Scully from Embark Beyond. We're going to be talking luxury travel. I know luxury is sort of the topic. It seems like the topic of the year, but we wanted to do one on getting into luxury, on finding luxury clients, things like that. Another introduction for people who want to sort of build their business around luxury if they haven't done so yet. So we have Margaret Scully from Embark Beyond. We're really so excited to have her. And you can register for that in the chat now. And just a reminder, if you cannot make that time, the 1 p.m. time on June 20th, please go ahead and register anyway, and we'll get you a copy of the recording once we wrap up and process everything. So you'll have that waiting in your inbox when you are able to view it or watch it or wherever you do it. All right. All right. So with that all out of the way, I'm really, really happy to welcome our guest for today. Our first-time guest for MasterAdvisor is Shayla Northcutt, the owner of Houston's Northcutt Travel Agency. Shayla, thank you so much for joining us today. I know you're traveling this week, and I really do appreciate your time.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So, I'd like to start all these off with just sort of having the guests introduce themselves to the audience. I know I mentioned you're based in Houston, but curious if you tell us a little bit about your agency, if there's a specialty, and how many years you have in the business.
Yeah. So Shayla Northcutt from Houston, Texas, and I do have a storefront in Cypress, Texas, which is just a little suburb. I've been in the industry for 8 years now, and I have 2 staff and 32 teammates. I don't call them independent contractors. I call them teammates. So that's that.
That is that's the first time I heard teammates, but that seems like it does seem like a more familiar term, or like it's a more family term than ICs. ICs seems like a kind of a cool term.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. So what were you doing before you were in travel, Shayla?
I was an accountant. So I was an accountant for an aviation company, actually, crazy enough. And I did that for about 15 years before I had kids. So I have 2 amazing boys, 9 and 11, Cayman and Crockett, an amazing husband. And when I had my first child, probably a year and a half after that, I decided to leave that kind of accounting world and retire from the company that I was at. And my husband was like, I had my second kid, and he said, "You're just not happy. Like, what do you want to do in life?" He was like, "Why don't you just be a stay-at-home mom?" And I was like, "Nope, that is not me. That is not my personality. And if you know me, that is not." So he was like, "Well, why don't you be a real estate agent?" And I was like, "Nope, nope." And he was like, "Why don't you be a travel agent?" And here we are.
All right. All right. Well, that is great. Yeah, that is terrific. I know your agency is super successful too. I've heard you speak in conferences and things like that. So we're so excited to have you. You mentioned 32 teammates, two staff. So obviously that's going to be relevant for us on this talk today. And just like I'm curious, Shayla, do you sell a lot of different kinds of travel? There's not one specialty that your agency categorizes itself as.
Correct. So we sell the world. We're not going to say no unless it's something that's completely not feasible. We try to help everyone from the smallest to the most extravagant, largest destination weddings, groups, corporate travel, anything and everything. A lot of cruises, a lot of Europe, Thailand, all over the world. We're not going to say no. With our diverse teammates on our team, we're able to do and be successful in the world.
And then my last one before we get into specific hiring stuff, you mentioned you had a storefront. How important is it for you to have a storefront? I know the industry shifted pretty heavily towards non-storefront agencies over the past 5 years or so, but your storefront is still important to you in your business?
So I'll be honest with you. When I went to a traditional storefront, I was at an office before where clients could come into, but it was my old house in downtown Houston. So they could still come in there. I still had an office space that was fully dedicated to Northcutt Travel. And it was so beneficial to me because I'm not a work from home type of person. I have to have that dedicated space, that dedicated place in order to get things done. And I always wanted people and support for not only myself, but for my team. So in order to do that, it's a little bit harder, in my opinion, to run staff that are remote. So I knew I always wanted to have an office space. Now, do we get a ton of traffic in our office? No, we really don't, because most of our stuff can be done remotely, right? But there is also that sense that people feel a little bit better or more secure when you do have an office space or a storefront to say, all right, if I have questions, I can just have a meeting with her at our office. I can stop by, or it's a little bit more legit, right?
Yeah, yeah, they know you're a real person. They know where to find you physically too if they
Right.
ever needed to. So yeah, that's good to hear. Okay. All right. So I know the industry has had issues attracting new talent for a little while now. I meet so many different people who are new to the industries, some young people, some people in different careers and things like that. But I know there's always an ongoing discussion of hiring in this industry. For you, Shayla, from your point of view in your agency, I know you have a lot of teammates. I know you have a couple staff members. How difficult has it been for you to find good talent or hire people over the last couple of years?
It's been extremely more difficult than it was before pandemic. When people work from home, that was kind of a caveat of this is going to be nice, it's going to be easy, but becoming a travel agent takes so much self-starting and so much education and training that is going to be a harder sell when somebody has to put so much time and investment in themselves to learn things. It's going to be a little bit harder in order to find talent that are willing to change careers completely. Now, if they have a
Yeah.
sales background or marketing background, something like that, that's going to be the people that you're wanting to find. But it's been really hard. The other caveat why it's hard, if you put your job descriptions out there on LinkedIn, ZipRecruiters, those different types of avenues, even your community Facebook groups, that the jobs in your community, they're going to be a little bit more leery when they see the word travel agency is hiring, because they think, oh my gosh, is this some other pyramid type of MLM thing? Because that's more widely advertised than independent travel agents. So that's been the hardest thing to overcome with that surge of the MLM type of business model. You have seen it's such a harder struggle because people think, oh, well, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to pay $19.95 or $39.95 and try this out. So that's been a little bit harder to get the right staffing for your team.
I'm curious. I mean, you mentioned the education and training that's needed and the self-investment as well. It seems like those are things maybe people don't perceive as going to be mandatory when you're coming in the industry and want to work at a legitimate agency or want to work at a higher end agency. Like, is that something that a lot of the candidates you get when you do put posts on LinkedIn or as a recruiter, or like you mentioned, the community? Just like, is that kind of the surprises you get when you talk to these candidates initially, or when someone on your staff starts screening
Yeah.
these candidates? Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's very funny, and I think all of us can attest to this. You get a application on your form and they're like, "Oh, I'll be an amazing travel agent. I helped my friends book a cruise, so I'm going to be awesome at this. And plus, you know what? I can travel for free." So there's so many misconceptions about being a travel agent, and they see me traveling all over the world. Well, I don't travel for free. You can ask my husband. I do not travel for free. So it costs a lot of investment in yourself and in your business in order to become a successful travel agent. And I think that's the biggest caveat that people out there see, because in other avenues and other business models, that is very widely touted out to people. Become a travel agent. You can travel for free. Well, that is not true. That is such a misconception. While we do have perks in the industry, they focus on that. And that's not what we should be focusing on as a travel industry.
Yeah. And I hear that from a number of different agency owners as well, is that it does seem like a very glamorous career. And I know people are living glamorous lives within this industry or living them on social media, however you want to perceive it. But it does seem like that could hurt a little bit of recruitment. All right, so let's talk about the process for hiring. Shayla, you mentioned LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter. Like when you realize you maybe do need to add someone to your agency, are those sort of the websites or the avenues you start with trying to get initial round of candidates in to fill your roles?
Yeah. So I want to really stress that the hiring process is a painful one. It's not going to be easy, because you not only have to, and take your time, guys. Don't just knee jerk reaction. I actually do a Zoom interview and then an in-office interview if they're local. Some of my teammates aren't local. And I do a couple of rounds of interviews, and then I let some of my esteemed teammates who've been with me the longest actually interview them as well, because we want them to be a good part of the family, a good fit of the family. Even if you have a business consultant that's helping you with hiring, have them talk to them as well. Don't just do it solely and based on your own knee-jerk reactions. I think I was saying that I'm the worst interviewer in the world because I love everyone. Come on, come join my team, right? So I have to, they have to be pre-screened before they even come to me, because again, I'm just like, "Oh, I love you." And that, you can't, you got to take that emotion out of it. You're a boss. You have to look at it
Yeah.
logistically. You have to go through their resume. If they're not willing to send you the resume, the skills, examples on what they need to do, make that hiring process a couple of weeks long. Give them little tests, like say, how would you communicate with this client via email on this situation? How would you communicate on this situation if a flight's delayed and you're in the middle of something? What are you going to do? Give them situational questions that they can actually answer and become productive enough in order for you to feel comfortable that they might be a right fit for the team. You can't just say, "Oh, what? You know what? Come on. You want to be a travel agent? Let's try this." Actually be resourceful, and please give them a contract. Do not let anyone join your team without a contract. Also, 3-month trials have been key to my success. A 3-month trial, if they aren't doing trainings, if they aren't getting things set up, if they aren't selling anything, then this probably is not the right industry for them.
And like you mentioned, you had the accounting background, Shayla. I speak to a lot of advisors, and a lot of them had different kinds of backgrounds before they entered the industry. what kind of people do you look for? Like in your experience, what kind of people have been fits? Is there a set of skills people tend to have before they come in the industry that lets them hit the ground running? I know there's stuff that can be taught. There's education that can be done. There's knowledge that is impossible to have unless you're in this industry. But is there any hints in prior career experience or any prior skills that you think fits well into a travel agency career?
So in our day and age, we of course have to be tech savvy, right? You have to be able to know emails, you have to be able to know how to use your resources on the internet to get signed up. Those different levels of skills have to be there and they are key to any successful travel agent. Number two, you have to be a little bit charismatic. You're a salesperson, and the bottom line is you're a salesperson. And if you cannot sell yourself to the person that's hiring you, then that might not be a right fit. You have to be able to sell yourself because you're selling yourself to every and each client that you're working with. So that is super important, is having some type of sales background, some type of outgoing, charismatic type of background.
Yeah.
Marketing is a great one as well, because you're going to have to market yourself. Also, a little bit of business sense, because at the end of the day, you are responsible from A to Z, even though you have the support of each and every person, right? You
Yeah.
still have to be able to know how to run your business. You have to know how to do the accounting. You have to know how to do all of those little things. So I find that people that want to learn, like teachers, educators that have been in the past, that can have that want and need for education, learning, sales, those different types of things are the skills that I most look for.
Yeah, yeah. The communication skills, like you mentioned, selling yourself, marketing, charisma, a little bit of self motivation seems to be very important too. Because I know Shayla, I know you have a lot of ice or teammates with you, and you have a couple staff, and but I know you travel a lot too. So I imagine you cannot be there motivating more than 30 people every day, considering what's on your shoulders too.
Right. It's not daily, but my team also knows that we have cultivated such a great team family that they actually motivate each other. They can reach out to each other. And we have our own private Facebook group that we talk to each other, we assist each other. We can answer any question. They know if they can't get me. And then my assistant at the office, who's at the office 9 to 5, if they need something, they know that they can reach out to her. And if she can help them, she will. If not, she can
Yeah.
be like, text message one of our other teammates. But having that support system, and I know it's harder with the smaller agencies, you're like, well, it's just me and I need to grow from just me. It starts with one and then it can grow, but you have to be able to rely on your teammates and know that pouring and loving into them. And if push comes to shove, I'm sticking up for my teammates no matter what. It's going to be, they know that I need to motivate them. Now, it might be like once a week where I'll get on a group, I'll be like, hey, here's this marketing idea, or hey, here's this vendor. Those different types of personal one-on-one educational training sessions really does help motivate that.
Yeah, I see Kelly's question, which we'll grab in a second. But Shayla, I'm curious. I mean, you mentioned start with one. Do you remember the process you went through when you first started bringing people on your agency? And like, I guess if there's like, do you remember what it was like, and do you remember how it scaled from there?
Yes, I mean, it was invigorating. So it started out, and the teammate that first started with me is still with me to this
Oh,
day,
nice.
and it is phenomenal. And she's the one that pre-scans all my people, and we grew together by making business decisions together. That's something else that my team really values, because I will ask them, hey, what do you guys think about this? Should we move into this sector? Should we do this? Should we do that? So getting some of my senior staff or some of my senior teammates to put in their opinion really gives them a value add to your team. So having them have a little bit of a voice.
Yeah, a little skin in the game. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So I know a second ago you were talking about the initial test you might give a candidate, Shayla, or a new hire. And Kelly wants to know if they're brand new to the industry and they maybe don't know how to handle these problems when you give them these scenarios. What's sort of the guidance there?
You don't have to give them travel scenarios. You can give them every day-to-day life scenarios as it looking at their background and were they in customer service? What was their prior history? And that's when looking at their resume and seeing where they worked at before and taking questions from those. Where was a difficult situation that you had where a customer yelled at you? How did you handle that? Or how did you pivot when your boss had a bad day and wasn't very communicated to you? Did you just shut down? There's all kinds of different task questions, and they don't have to be around travel particularly. You can still get the same feel from what they are.
Yeah, so like problem solving is basically the skill you're going to need. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So we spoke a little bit about the candidates, where applicants going out. We talked a little bit about your process. All right. So we mentioned a little bit about the challenges. We have 8 people coming into this business hoping to have a glamorous life of free travel, and we know that's not necessarily the case. How big of an issue, Shayla, is it for the industry to attract agents who might be coming into this career and not really making a significant amount of money right away? I know a lot of it's commission based, but it seems like a tough pill to swallow and something the industry kind of has to confront now as they try to deal with this problem going forward.
Right. And you have to have that tough conversation because this is another really hard challenge that we face as travel agency owners, recruiters, where we're saying, you know what, not going to make money until these people travel. So they're going to have some other source of income, and they're not going to be really dedicated or focused on being a travel agent. So I always say, if you have potential, I will invest in you, right? So if you have the potential to be where you're at, and some people can't live commission check to commission check. So there's been times where I've said, you know what, I will pay you every 2 weeks on a salary structure. That way you're getting something at a salary structure. I know you're a good seller. You've been on my team for at least 9 months, right? And they're selling and they're producing, but they're not getting that steady flow of income. Then they're getting a steady paycheck. And then at the end of the year, they can bonus out or keep it and roll it for the next year, right? So there are ways that you can invest in your people and have a sane structure where they're still getting paid, but make sure contractually, that's another contract. I'm big on contract. My husband's an attorney. So you have to make sure that you're having that in writing in case they owe you any money on the backside, right? So just be proper in doing that. But if you feel like they're going to be a fire agent, you feel like they're going to be a best investment, make that investment and have that conversation with them.
Yeah. That is, I've heard, I think Heather DiPietro talked a little bit about that. I had her on this show a couple times and she mentioned that. So I know, like, it's nice to hear people getting creative to try to solve that issue.
Right.
We have a question from Nancy in the chat. She wants to know, I guess we're going back to the actual job post. You mentioned sort of the travel agency, the misconception about seeing that word and seeing and picturing in your head what it's going to be like. But Nancy sort of has a similar question. When writing a job post, are there components, descriptions, or information you have found that draw more qualified applicants from the pool?
So you can never put too much information in that job post. When y'all put out a job post, I want you to tell people how your agency was founded, what it's based on, what your core values are. Have your structure in that job post, because if they're really serious about looking at it, then they will do a deep dive. And it's not just travel agent, must have communication skills, must have this. Do a deep dive in that post. You don't have to make it super generic. You want people to know and feel. And even if you have a website and you manage a website, you can say, please look here for more information on a deep dive about our company and where we came from and what we're all about. So put more information in that job post, just rather than travel agent seeking this, must do this. So have an over communication on your job post, and that will actually attract a little bit, weed out a lot of those people that are looking for those things.
Yeah. It's like you mentioned, the candidate's trying to sell him or herself to you. You, in that job post, it seems
Right.
like what you're saying, Shayla, is you're trying to sell your agency to that candidate as well.
Absolutely.
All right, we'll talk a little bit about admin staff in a second, I think. But I want to talk about those first 3 months. You mentioned the first 90 days are going to be pretty important. What kind of things are new hires who you have to decide on a candidate, you feel comfortable with him or her? What kind of stuff are they doing those first 3 months, Shayla? Like, I know training is a big part of it, but is there anything else you make sure they get their hands on when they initially get on board?
So we have a whole onboarding process. And if you do not have an onboarding process, please create one. Know what's important to you and your agency and do an onboarding process. And anybody that wants it, I've created an onboarding process on Canva for free. If y'all want it, I can send it to you. It's their own personal website. It kind of tells you about the company, who our senior advisors are, their contact information, and then I put what I have to sign them up for, kind of like our top 20 vendors, and sign them up. That way they have everything in one link, so they're not going back and forth in a email for this one, email for that one, email for this one. So it's an onboarding process, and the trainings that I think that they need to complete in order. So our training, different trainings for major suppliers that we use. But I'm also having that phone conversation with them and asking them, what do they want to sell, right? Because not everybody's going to come swinging out of the gate and selling the world, right? They're either going to be Disney people, they're going to be cruise people, they're going to be destination wedding people, they're going to be Mexico, Caribbean people, they're going to be Europe people. And that's where you really have to kind of hone in and use your suppliers, use your vendors, use your training that you've done in order to get them the right education for that tool. Push that. And then you can, I always say it's like reading a book, right? Once you've kind of computed this first page, you're going to flip that, and then you're going to read the next page and the next page and the next page, and seeing what vendors you can use for everything else.
Yeah. So we'll do our best, Shayla. We'll connect. We'll have Tom try to connect with you after and get that everyone attendee. Hopefully, we'll get a copy of that. I see a lot of people in the chat wanting it. All right. So, but aside, so supplier training, I know is very important. Knowing their products is going to be incredibly important. What about actually selling? Like, at what point does that process start for new hires? Are they selling right away? Like, are a lot of them hitting the ground running? Is that something you encourage?
I absolutely tell them, please take 3 weeks before you even announce that you're in the industry, to kind of get all your systems into place. Now, if you have no travel experience in the past and you're not coming over from a different place, I always say, please get these trainings done. Please do a deep dive into these different things before you even announce out there, because it's a disservice to your team if you let them go out there and they don't know the answers. Of course, they can get with other teammates or yourself to get those answers, but if they don't have them right away and they haven't done any training or education on anything, they're not going to be successful. So I always say, give it 3 weeks, do training, get all your systems set up, do a little, I'll even give them some scenarios of different quotes that they can do, look at it, refine that, become a professional and learn before you daunt out there, hey, I'm a travel advisor. So you definitely need to kind of take that time in order to get them trained.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a Donna in the chat said that she requires 90 days before
Yeah.
any announcement is being made.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So, all All right. I'm curious. I mean, selling is the job. Like, it's obviously the job. But is that something that you're able to help with or teach or educate new hires on? Like, is selling something that it's either you had that skill or you don't, or is it something you think that you can pass on between you and your teammates? It can be like a collaborative educational process.
I was an accountant, not a
Yeah,
salesperson.
fair enough. Yeah.
So you can learn anything you want to learn, right? If you're passionate about anything in life, you can sell that passion. And that's what I always tell people. If you're passionate about water and want to sell water, I'm a water snob. I love Fiji water. I can sell it because I love it. Travel. If you love cruising, if you love this, if you love that, if you're passionate about it, sales should come second nature. Now, not everyone's a salesperson, right? We all know that. There's some people that's just very dry, but you have to find your passion, then you'll find your sales. That's just key. If you can talk about it for more than 5 minutes, then you can sell it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Shayla. I've seen social media posts from water sommeliers at this point, so it's pretty. Yeah, it's kind of crazy now. But all right, yeah, and we had a great comment. Summer said, "Hire for attitude, train for skill," which seems like what you're
Yep.
saying. To find that passion, find the attitude, and I know successful agency owners are confident they'll be able to train. All right, so let's jump in. We have about 15 minutes left, so if anyone does have any more questions, drop them in the chat. I want to talk a little bit about ICs, which I know you call teammates, and staff. Um, you said you have two staff members, Shayla, and I assume they are in your headquarters, in your agency. Those who are staffing the storefront.
Right. So actually, the two staff I have of NTA is myself and my assistant. So, very important. If you're not staffed by your agency, please be staffed by your agency. I get a paycheck. I'm the lowest paid person in my whole entire company making minimum wage, right? But I still have to pay myself. Everything gets invested back into my company. And I still sell travel. I'm still a travel advisor, but that investment goes back into my company, not into my pocket. Just the way I run my business. And then my staff, I did have 3 staff at the beginning of the year. They 2 had left. One was going off to college, and one was a stay-at-home mom that wanted to go back to be a stay-at-home mom, which was fine. But now I need 2 more staff in my office. Here is the rough part. And let me talk about the staff that I have in the office now. She is there from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. She answers. I only have one number for my company, for myself, anything and everything. It is my cell phone, but it rings in the office as well. So she answers my cell phone from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. That's the office number, it's my cell number. So our phones are really well taken care of. We're not having to return messages. There's a first touch. And you know how important that is with clients, because clients want to get recognized right away. They want to be addressed right away. So having someone there just to answer the phones has been phenomenal. Anything that needs to be done, that is being taken care of. She's also there to help assist me because, hey, I'm running a company with my itineraries, and she's helped build templates that all of my teammates can use for all of the travels. So she helps cultivate all the templates for itineraries for our team to use and for myself to use. She helps with teammate issues if they have account issues and I'm traveling. She helps with, she has carte blanche, right? To my emails and can answer as me if needed be. If I need to have something addressed right away, she'll look at it, make the decision, and just answer as me. Even if it's like, hey, I'm out of town, can I get back to you tomorrow? Or whatever it might be. Flagging important stuff, texting me on important stuff. So that has been a key. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have at least one person in the office 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, just helping me out on those situations.
Yeah. And so I know you mentioned you had a sort of a bigger team doing
Yeah,
that. I mean, is that your plan now? I'm just curious to try to
it
bring
is.
someone on board to do that. Yeah.
It is. And here's my problem. We travel so much, right? I'm gone every week. So getting somebody into the hiring process, my problem lately has been I'll put the job description out there and then I'll have to close it because then I'm not there to interview. I'm not there to train. I'm not there to do the things that I need to do to get another person in the office. It's really hard right now because it seems like younger people want more pay for no experience. That's a huge thing. Somebody right out of high school is wanting to be paid $20 an hour to sit there and work on itineraries or something else. So pay has been very um, hard for me. So I've kind of transitioned into doing, okay, you're going to start off at this for 3 months. Again, that 3 month thing. And then we'll move you up. And in the employee contract, I say you're scheduled at this, there'll be an evaluation done, and then we can bump you to this if you're producing the way you should be producing. So it's kind of giving them like that temp to hire, but you're actually hiring them in the company. I've never used a temp company for sourcing. It might be either temp companies or having an independent consultant for hiring come on board to help me find these people because again, it's me and I don't have that other resource of help to go find those people. So hiring somebody to help me hire somebody, it sounds crazy, right? But at
Yeah.
this stage in my life, when I'm gone so much, it's my next step in order to get this done. And when we find the right candidate, it's carving out that time to be with them in order to train them on what I need them to do. So my other two positions that I had filled was a personal assistant because, whew, have you met me? I'm a little all over the place. So I actually had a personal assistant that was helping me with doctor's appointments, scheduling whatever I needed to for the kids and just my life in general. So that was the other position that I had filled. And then the other one was a marketing position, helping me put stuff out on my website, updating that because I do all of that myself as well right now. And just running that marketing aspect of the business.
So I guess I mean you mentioned it's very difficult with your travel schedule. Is the solution just to find the right time that works for you in the future, or like are you planning on carving out time to get this done?
I've carved out some time in July in
Okay.
order to do that. It will not be June. June's already gone. I mean, it's
Okay.
yeah, but in timing it right to where you can have an influx. And like I said, I've done ZipRecruiter before and had so many great candidates. And then it comes down to, all right, how can I get them in office for a scheduling? And then how do I carve out, am I leaving the next day? And then they're drinking from a fire hose because they don't know what's going on and they don't know what to do. I mean, again, luckily I have my admin assistant in office that can kind of help navigate that, but she's not going to be able to train. She's not a travel agent. She's just an administrative assistant and knows what she knows.
Yeah, and Shayla, she's the one that's been with you almost since the beginning.
No, my administrative assistant. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The one in the
All right.
office. Yeah.
Okay.
Another
Um,
thing you can do, just real quick, anytime I go out of town, I'll have one of my senior agents come into my office and run the company, and I will pay them hourly. So I actually will say, hey, girl, what are you doing this week? I'm off in Italy. Can you come to the office for the next 2 weeks and work? Just log your hours and I'll pay you hourly, on top of everything else. So, and that's actually worked out swimmingly because you have a seasoned agent in the office that's going to be able to navigate all of the issues, the problem, the leads that are going out, the people that are calling in, all of those different types of things. So if you hire from within, and actually that's another good thing to do. if you have some teammates that want some extra tasks or extra duties. Right now, one of my other teammates is running our social media because I don't have the time to do it for the company. So she gets paid a flat fee every month to run our social media. So that's not something else that I have to do right now until I can get a full-time marketing person on board. So reach out to your team and see if they have other interests about working in the business, not on their own business.
Right. And yeah, like you mentioned that earlier too. Someone asked about referrals earlier too, so that's a good thing to consider when hiring people too. We have a question from Joan, and then Summer asked about your teammates, and I think that's what we'll spend the last 5 minutes on. But Joan just wants to know if you've ever considered employing virtual assistants. Is that something you
Employing
think
for
would be a
what?
fit? Virtual assistants.
I have tried it and it does not work for me. It does not work for me. The amount of communication that has to go back and forth. And I've actually tried it 3 different times with 3 different assistants. So it's just doesn't work in my wheelhouse. It might be the way that things are explained, tasks that have to be done. Again, there's so much training that has to be done to that virtual assistant as well. It's almost the same process as hiring anywhere else. I just haven't had a virtual. I know other people have had luck with it. I just haven't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So 32 teammates. So that's clearly where you found your success, or you've been successful employing teammates, employing ICs. Summer asks a good question to sort of kick us off. I mean, do you have an onboarding fee or a monthly fee for your teammates, or is there anything else about the structure you can share with us?
So I do not. I don't charge them a dime. And some people are just like, "What? You're crazy." I'm investing in them. I'm already taking a commission split percentage, right? And most everyone does. I'm still taking a commission percent split. I pay for their emails. I pay for their CRM. I do all their training. So I pay for their business cards. They don't have to do a fee for any of that. That's all run through the company because I want them to have my domain as their email address. And that's just something that's kind of in the contract and those different types of things. If they want to brand their names as, traveling dreams by whatever on
Yeah.
social media, I don't care about that. But as far as the company stuff and if transactions are ran, I want them all to be in the same system.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Christina asks about CRMs, which is a little off topic, but what CRM do you employ a
I
CRM that you
I
would
use
recommend? Yeah.
vacation CRM.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Um, okay, so we're talking about teammates. Um, what I mean, you've built a pretty big roster of teammates, Shayla. I mean, anything you can share about how you communicate with so many, or what the communication, I guess, is like internally with so many different people? Does it feel like a big team, or does it feel like something else entirely?
It's a big team. So get your core values together, write down where you want to go in the business, introduce each other all the time. Like when somebody comes new into the family, I want them to be introduced. I want them to know a little bit about them. And then as they start talking, we try and do company fams at least once or twice a year so that everybody can meet everyone. It's those different types of things that we do in order to make the team successful. Because if you build out those different relationship pods, then everybody's going to have a support system and not just me, right? So and my team will help anybody on the team. They're not asking, so many of them have backups that are their teammates, not just me, so that they can rely on somebody else. And we don't say, oh, well, you know what, you're going to have to pay me part of that commission. We do it because we care about the business, we care about the people. We want to make this a successful company altogether.
And then I guess last one, this like the lead generation, the agency. I mean, I know your agency is branded very specifically, like you mentioned, selling yourself is important, and if anyone looks at your agency, they'll see how passionate you are about that. What kind of process is it when leads do come through the agency when you do have 32 teammates? Like, is it just that you find the one that fits the most, or people? Is it mostly people generating their own leads? Like, what's kind of the environment there?
It's mostly people that are generating their own leads, but new leads come in, every day. So we want to get those out. And what my administrative assistant does is she runs that inbox, and she has a list of what everyone specializes in, but that teammate has to respond back to her within 2 hours that they're going to take that lead, or it goes to someone else. So it's just because people want to be touched immediately now, and it's just you have to have that transfer time, that turnover time. And if they're busy, whatnot, I usually know, hey, this person's out of town, don't send it to them. We usually know where our teammates are, but that's the way our process works.
Yeah. And I guess do specialties matter? Like you said, I know you mentioned we sell the world, but it does feel like some agents do prefer some segments to other agents, and some maybe have skills that other agents don't have. Like specialties matter in this scenario.
Right. And I have a couple of agents that are Disney focused and cruise focused, and I'm not going to send them a Thailand trip, right? I'm going to send that to one of my other teammates that is well versed in Thailand. So having that list of what their strengths are that they can do, and some of them next to it says everything, and we can send them everything. So having that list and knowing what your teammates are passionate about, that's where those leads are going to go.
Okay, so usually I do this at the beginning of these conversations, but I thought I'd pull this to the end. I just like to, all of our guests, I sort of like to have a temperature check on the demand, Shayla. I know 23 was a huge year for everyone. 24, I know, was pretty strong. Talking to advisors throughout this year, even last week when I was at the Asset Travel Advisor Conference, a lot of advisors were very bullish. I'm just curious, what's your feeling about the demand right now, sort of the consumer environment as we head further into 24? Like we're almost in the second half of 24.
The demand is there for a travel agent, or travel advisor. The demand is there. What we're seeing a little bit more of in the industry of for those travel agencies that have been around for a little bit longer, a lot of business is being deterred into other places, because every time you see on a Facebook community group who's a travel agent, well, 5 years ago there would be like 5 agencies listed. Now everybody and their brother's a travel agent. Like it's crazy, these names that are popping up that you've never heard of. And all I say is please vet the people that you're working with. Not every travel advisor is the right fit for every person. I will always say that. But we're seeing that the demand for travel advisors is still there. It's just being spread over this wealth of people that have come into the industry under different avenues. So it just, and again, I just say, look, do research on who you work with, and that's all I'll put in these groups, and go from there.
Yeah, it does seem that that point is being brought up a lot. I know, again, I mentioned ASTA, but ASTA's promoting their VTA program to do like just what you said, Shayla, to try to distinguish professionals from people who maybe are not a professional travel agent.
Right.
And just like I guess my last question. I know I said the last one before it was the last one, but we spoke a little bit about it earlier in the week, and you mentioned that those agents might benefit from moving into a proper agency like yours or somebody else's. Like that might be a good fertile ground to seek some hires if you are looking for that.
Right, because there are some travel advisors that never knew they were travel advisors, and then go online and they're like, all right, I'll sign up for $40 a month and see if I can give this a try. And then they become wildly successful at it. And then they're at a loss because their business has grown so much. They don't have the support because there's 50 other thousand people in that conglomerate that want help or need help. They don't have that one-on-one support. They don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know. And so having that little conversation with them, if they approach you, that it's going to be, this is how our team works, this is how our structure works, and then moving over to you. So we have actually gotten some really great teammates out of that different industry, that different business model, to come over and join our team to be wildly way more successful.
Yeah. So I think it's just a good point for everyone. Just like I know this industry is a lot of people in this industry. I know there's a lot of traditional like thoughts about different groups and things like that, but like you mentioned, Shayla, like those people can be very successful and they can be an asset to you.
100%.
Well, Shayla, thank you so much. It was really so fun talking to you. I learned a lot. I hope everyone learned a lot too. And I really do appreciate your time. I know you are traveling, and I appreciate you making time for us.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
All right. thank you to Shayla. Thank you to everyone for coming out today. It was really nice to see everyone. Again, we'll be back here in a couple weeks. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll try to get that the onboarding sheet out to everyone today too. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you all soon.